The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest stories in the NBA.
The Detroit Pistons improved to 2-1 after defeating the Boston Celtics in their first home game of the season.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast.
The Pistons get their first win at home, led by their big 3, which is Ausar Thompson, Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren. Cade Cunningham 25-8, Ausar 21-12, Jalen Duren 24-17. The Boston Celtics, I've said this over and over on this podcast before. I don't know why the Celtics have come up so much, but they have. But the Celtics front court is bad. They have a very bad front court. They're not very good. They don't have a lot of size. They're not very good. So the Pistons front court should have been able to dominate this matchup, and they eventually did. Started off a little rough at first, but they eventually dominated. They had, what's the NBA.com's rebound totals are always wrong. They have the rebounds. I guess I should have went somewhere else to get their rebounds. But NBA.com has the Pistons out-rebounding the Celtics 65-32. But I think they include like team rebounds, like rebounds that go out of bounds and stuff. But either way, the Pistons dominated the glass. They dominated the paint. And that's exactly what they should have done against a team like the Boston Celtics. Cade struggled early in this game. He had 6 turnovers in this game. Again, just not very good with the turnovers. The turnovers have to get better. Could not continue to turn the ball over like this. But early in the game, I felt like he wasn't taking the best of shots with a team like the Celtics. They don't have a lot of size in the paint, I should say. So he should have been able to get to the paint routinely. And he wasn't doing that in the first half. In the second half, though, he had a great game. He turned it up again. This is now back-to-back games. He turns it up in the second half, especially the fourth quarter. And he just started going to the rim. He started going to the rim. They realized that no one really could stop him from getting to the basket. He was getting there routinely, was drawing fouls, some tough finishes at the basket as well. So Cade, we'd like to see Cade eventually, and he's going to, like, no. Someone said this during the live watch party, and this is a truthful statement. If there was one thing that you could say about the Pistons that you'd feel like, okay, well, I don't need to be concerned about that to start the year, which is Cade needs to play better. Okay, if that's the one thing you're going to take away from these games, then that's fine, because we know Cade's going to be fine. Like, Cade's just having a slower start to the year, and a slower start to the year for Cade is 25-8 on decent efficiency. So the turnovers are a bit much. Obviously, you don't like to see the turnovers. You'd like to see him start off a little bit stronger in the first half, but Cade will eventually play a full game where he's just playing excellent, right? Like, that's going to eventually happen. You don't need to be concerned about that. We have seen years now of when Cade starts off the season, beginning of the game, he's just, this happens. Eventually, we're going to see Cade get to full-time Cade throughout the entire game. But again, a tough game for Cade at this point of his career is 25-8 on good efficiency. So it's like, if he plays better, if Cade plays like how we know he can play, the Pistons will just start, like, they would have won by like 15 plus this game, I feel like. They won by 6. They would have won it by at least, let me not say 15 plus, 10 plus in this game. I feel like they would have beat the Bulls easily. In this past game, the game before this one, they would have beat the Rockets even more than they did before anyway. So, Cade, fine game from him. Like to see him be a little bit more consistent throughout the game, but ended off strong. Did a great job in the second half. Isaiah Stewart, the bench unit really, led by Stu, I should say, was really impactful for the Pistons again. Him, Ron, Javonte Green continues to play a lot. And look, I'm not I haven't been the biggest fan of his minutes, but when he's playing out there, I can't deny that he's giving it his all. And they need some of his defense. So he's trying hard in defense, and they need that. So they've been impactful. When those guys come in off the bench, it really turns the game around. The Pistons did not start off well to this game at all. They went down double figures instantly. They had 2 points after 4 minutes of the game. Like, it wasn't good at all. Then they started some of the bench in, started to get more active, started to get some more energy, and then they turned the game around, really controlled it after that. But that was led by Isaiah Stewart, who, again, had 9.6 rebounds, a block, and a steal. Led by Ron Holland, who came in and really was infectious with his defense, had 7 points, 2 steals, 1 block. Wasn't the most efficient at for Ron, shot 3 of 9, but his impact was felt because of how impactful he was defensively and how he was able to turn so many defensive possessions into transition opportunities, how he was impactful himself in transition opportunities. The bench unit for the Pistons has been pretty good. I'm not going to lie. And this is without Karis LeVert, who was one of their big offseason additions, and he hasn't even played. So you got to give it to the bench unit for coming in and really giving the energy that the Pistons need to get back into these games. You like the Pistons to not need the bench to give them the energy to get back into these games, but they are. Stu's doing a great job. Stu's played excellent to start the season. He hit 2 threes again in this game. If Stu's going to continue to hit multiple threes a game, he's just going to be, he already was insanely valuable, but he's going to be even more valuable. He's had an exceptional start to the season. Stu's been great. And Ron, even though he shot 3 of 9, 4 of those were threes, all of them were open. You want him taking those shots. You live with him taking those shots. You need him to take those shots, so you live with it. But yeah, I thought the bench played really well for the Pistons. I thought Cade came through in the second half and closed it out for him. Tobias offensively had some timely buckets, though. Defensively for him, we need Tobias to be a little better. Jaylen Brown dropped 40 points in this game. Majority of that was on Tobias. They had Asar checking Peyton Pritchard, and then when they move Asar to Jaylen Brown, then they would just go through Peyton Pritchard, and he would seek out and destroy, whether it was Duncan Robinson or whoever it was that was guarding. Then he would seek and destroy him. Then they'd move Asar back to Peyton Pritchard. Then they'd just go back to Jaylen Brown. So they were having that problem. You could have went with Asar and Ron, but I feel like it felt like JB after Ron missed his 4-3 was like, okay, we tried to run this. We're going to need some more reliable offense as well on the floor so we can get some stuff going. I get it, but you don't expect Tobias to give up 40. You expect a little bit more from Tobias defensively. I think he has more than he gave tonight defensively, so you'd like to see that. But Tobias had 18, 8, and 4. He also contributed on the glass to the Pistons, really dominating the Celtics front court. But yeah, defensively, just you need and want more from Tobias on that end. Not a very good game for Duncan, though. Some timely buckets, though, in the second half, but just not overall a great game for him. He's struggling to get things going. His teammates are struggling to really get accustomed to how he likes to play, his movement shooting, how often he moves. I think it's going to be something you're going to continue to see worked on and improved upon as the season goes on. But 2-1, they should be 3-0. 2-1 after getting their first home victory of the year. Big time. Again, another game where it feels like a lot of the players that came into the game impacted the win. It wasn't just a few guys. There was a lot of guys that really impacted this win. The Pistons continuing to play well without Jaden Ivey and Karis LeVert. Both of those guys are having guys come in, step up, and continue to play well. That's great to see with the depth of this team.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Canceling those all can save you money every month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
The Cavs get a Sunday night win over the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm going to call this a work in progress win.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
The Cleveland Cavaliers got a 118-113 win over the Milwaukee Bucks on Sunday. And I have come up with a term for a game like this one, and I think even retrospectively, it applies to Friday night's game in Brooklyn against the Nets too. This is a work in progress win because at times during this game, and I think the first half of the third quarter was part of this, at times during this game, the Cavs look really good. Like they're capable of stringing things together offensively and defensively for that matter. They look like a team that we all expect them to be. And then there are other times during the game where it's like, okay, well, the Cavs still really do need to work on this specific thing, or they need to get better at this, or maybe these two players don't necessarily have the cohesion that we expect them to have. And this is, I think, a pretty good reminder. I think a night like Sunday is a very good reminder that the Cavs are not a finished product. And I think that they're far from being a finished product. And I just think about how it contrasts to last year, because through 3 games last year, the Cavs were 3-0 and they're 2-1 through 3 games this year. with this being their second win, obviously. And as we know, they went on to win 15 straight games, and it was the best start in franchise history and one of the best starts in NBA history, right? Like, they looked at the start of the season, they looked like a finished product, which was to everyone's surprise because Kenny Atkinson was a new head coach, but the roster didn't have a lot of turnover, right? Like, if you think back to what they were at the end of the postseason when they lost to Boston 2 years ago versus who they were when they started the season last year, it was not exactly the same team, but very close to being the same team. And this year, there is a big difference in what this group looks like from a personnel standpoint. Yes, they didn't lose a ton of guys, but when you combine the fact that they did lose guys and Darius Garland is out and Max Strus is out, and they did get DeAndre Hunter back on Sunday. We will talk about that coming up in a little bit, but they're trying to incorporate a lot of different things. They're trying to build up in a way that they didn't have to last year because they were able to start off so well. In the first 3 games they played last year, it wasn't just that they were 3-0, it's that none of those games were close. And this year, all 3 games that they've played have been close in the fourth quarter, which is so much different. But I just think that this is such a work in progress. This team is going to look, I think, a month from now, 6 weeks from now, maybe 2 months from now, I think they're going to look so much different in the best possible ways than they do right now. Because I look at this and say, yes, it's a great thing for the Cavs that they won. They should obviously be happy with it because winning basketball games, a difficult thing to do, right? Like it, and all these wins count the same. This win on October 26th counts the same in the standings as a win on December 1st will when they play Indiana, or a win on January 4th will. Like, these wins will all count the same. It's just, okay, how do they look while doing it? Like, the team right now doesn't necessarily pass the eye test of a team that you expect to win the title this year. That doesn't matter. That's not a big deal. What's a big deal is that they find ways to get better, that they continue to improve upon the things that they are doing well and find ways to get much better at the things that they're not doing that well. And I do think that they will do that. I think that they are treating this stuff the right way too, because after the game, Donovan Mitchell in the locker room was asked about how it's a good thing they're recognizing what they're struggling with early on, because they do need to have areas where they can grow and they can get better. And I think that will be something that does help them out throughout the season, having those incremental goals to reach, having those areas where they can improve. And I think it'll be a fun thing to take a look back at, maybe not this game in specific, but this stretch of games later on in the season, and compare what the Cavs look like in January, in February, to what they look like as a team in October, in November, when we get there next week. Like, I think that'll be something that really is worth monitoring as the season goes on, because this is a team that is, I think, top to bottom, a little bit more talented than last year's group was. I do think that they made an upgrade in terms of talent. And right now, last year's team was better than where this year's team is right now. But the Cavs are doing the things, or say they're doing the things, and we'll have to see how this plays out in actuality. But the Cavs want to do the things to make themselves a better team at the end of the year than they were at the end of the year last year. We'll see if that happens. But I think nights like tonight are a reminder that, yes, they still have a long way to go, that, yes, there are things that they certainly need to work on. Like Evan Mobley, I kind of don't know how to view this game. Like, I did not think Evan had a great game. He certainly did not have a good first half. He was inefficient in the first half, really wasn't doing a ton of things well, particularly on the offensive end of the floor. And in the second half, I thought Evan was pretty good. Now, his outside shot didn't really fall. I think he was 1 of 5 of threes on Sunday night, which has been a good part of his game so far. Like, in the first couple of games, he did a solid job from outside. But overall, I thought, you know what, this is just not a great Evan Mobley performance. And then, because you don't want to, no one wants to watch the box score the whole time, right? Like, that's not why you're there to watch the actual basketball. You're not there to watch the box score. But at the end of the day, you look up and see, well, I've been kind of underwhelmed by Evan. His 23 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. And he does it while only taking 13 shots, because he goes 12 of 12 from the free throw line, because he's the guy that they count on at the end of the game to ice it at the free throw line, where he makes all 6 free throws that he attempted in the last 2 minutes. Like, those are the things. That is a big area of growth. I think that is a big deal for him, because normally, if you think back to last year, when the Cavs were in that situation, Evan was the guy throwing the ball in. And part of that is because the Cavs would trust him to make the right decision. Part of it is he's tall, right? Like, you want somebody that's a little bit taller just so they're a little bit less impacted by whoever the opposition is using to defend the inbounder. That is, you look for somebody like Evan Mobley there. But if you go back and look at who the Cavs had on the floor, it's Lonzo Ball throwing the ball in, which is a very good choice because Lonzo is right now the best passer they have available. And he's 6'6", 6'7". So he does give that size in that area. But you've got Lonzo Ball on the floor. You've got Donovan Mitchell on the floor. You've got Sam Merrill on the floor, who had another very, very good game. And we'll talk about him coming up a little bit later too. I believe DeAndre Hunter was on the floor as well. Like, you've got some really, really good offensive options. And the fact that Evan Mobley is the guy they trust to ice the game, I think is a really good sign about where he is in terms of his development and what to expect from him offensively. Because I thought, like, it was just kind of eh. And if Evan Mobley, in a game that I look at as maybe a little bit below his standard, I think that's a fair thing to say. Like, it is fair for me to expect Evan Mobley to be better than he was on Sunday night. Even Kenny Atkinson said he kind of lit into him at halftime because Evan wasn't necessarily doing the things they expect of him. And listen, if I'm going to say that I was underwhelmed by Evan on Sunday in particular, really what I'm saying is my standards for that guy have risen. Like, I expect him to be maybe not the best player on the floor on a night where Giannis Antetokounmpo just has an outrageous game for Milwaukee, because being the best player on the floor in a game that features, in my opinion, one of the three best players in basketball, probably unfair. And probably unfair for me to expect that of Donovan Mitchell too, just to be clear. Like, I went into this game expecting Giannis to be the best player, and guess what? He was, because he is the best player on either of those teams. But if those are my expectations, and to see how Evan played, I think it's fair to say, okay, he can be much better than he was. But then you look at what he ultimately did, and I did think he played well defensively. Giannis is such a tough task on that end, and he was not matched up on Giannis all night either. Like, I thought it was interesting that the Cavs started off this game with Jared Allen actually defending Giannis, and they had Evan Mobley defending Miles Turner. And the Bucks are obviously a team that's playing with two bigs out there, because Giannis is, despite not necessarily being a traditional center or power forward, he is a big for all intents and purposes. So I thought it was interesting the way they lined up. But overall, like, this was a good Evan Mobley game, but it wasn't a great Evan Mobley game. It wasn't what we should necessarily be asking or expecting of Evan Mobley. And the fact that that's how we feel about this, which you can feel however you want to feel, but that's like just kind of how I felt watching, was a little underwhelmed. And I think even the Cavs would say, you know, he can be certainly better than that. But for him to score 23 points, eight boards, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, like, that is filling up the stat sheet. And by the way, he was a plus 16 in a game the Cavs won by 5. That's a big deal too. And he made plays down the stretch. Like, they don't win this game without the plays that Evan Mobley made down the stretch of it. And I think a lot of the same things can be said for Donovan Mitchell. Now, he didn't necessarily fill up the stat sheet the same way Evan did. Donovan finished with 24 points on 9 of 20 shooting, which is not an efficient night for him. Missed 3 free throws, was just 1 of 8 from beyond the arc. Also had 5 turnovers of 4 assists. Like, Donovan Mitchell, we know can be and will be so much better than he was on Sunday night, but he also had some big plays down the stretch. Like, those two guys, I think for the most part, just played okay, but they made the plays when it counted. And I think that is why all of this right now is a work in progress for the Cavs. They'll be better than they are at the present moment. They're not there yet, and it's okay. And it's especially okay when they find ways to win.
The NFL season is rolling along, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for this weekend with can't-miss offers. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I want to bet in the moment. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
No LeBron James, no Luka Doncic in Sacramento. No problem for the Lakers as Austin Reaves dropped 51.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast.
Got off to a bad start, I think, for most Lakers fans, Andy, when we got the news that LeBron and his skinny fingers.
Luka and his skinny fingers.
I'm sorry, yeah, Luka and his skinny fingers will be missing the game. He has a sprained finger on his left hand and a lower leg contusion. He's going to miss at least a week, be reevaluated. So with the game Sunday, back-to-back on Monday, at least a week is about 4 or 5 games. So he's going to be out for a bit. Jackson Hayes unavailable for Sunday's game in Sacramento with a knee injury. So it was looking kind of grim, Andy, but it didn't turn out that way. This was a great victory for the Lakers.
Yeah, just add a little more context to Luka's situation before we get into the game. Sources told Dave McMenamin, sources told Dan Wojcicki from The Athletic, Dave McMenamin from ESPN, and then Jovan Buha's block. They all were told that the Lakers' level of concern over Luka is pretty minor, and they're all pretty confident that while a week without Luka is obviously an obstacle that needs to be overcome, there is not a lot of concern that this is going to stretch into 2 weeks, 3 weeks. All of a sudden, he's out nearly as long as LeBron is. That does not guarantee the lack of concern that Luka will be back in like a week, but at least internally, 3 different pretty plugged-in reporters are hearing that the Lakers are fairly confident that this will only last a week, which is good because who knows exactly how long, and this was a development in game, the Lakers could be without Gabe Vincent, who sprained his ankle during this game. Got tangled up sort of in a massive...
It looked like he landed on
DeAndre Ayton's foot on top of sort of being in a tight space. He knew immediately he could not keep playing.
They were on the baseline connected to like the Lakers locker room, walked straight there. Did not pass go, did not collect $200. The Lakers actually lost Marcus Smart for a little bit of that game. He came back into the game late.
Very Daniel LaRusso's going to fight. I mean, it was pretty amazing. He came back in for like the last 90 seconds or so of this game that was still very much tightly contested. And that was in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously, Austin's 51-point near triple-double. He was 1 assist shy of a triple-double, a 9-to-2 assist-to-turnover ratio, which is pretty amazing when you consider how much the ball was in Austin's hands, like the advanced metrics of this game.
And this is on top of 11-1 on Friday. So his last 2 games, he's got 20 assists and 3 turnovers.
But at least in that game, he was sharing some of the responsibility, not just with Luka, but with Gabe and with Marcus Smart. In this game, for a variety of circumstances, Austin had the ball in his hands by himself. I imagine his usage rating is going to be somewhere in the high 30s. Yeah, I mean, 40s. His usage rating might be as high as his point total. So with that in mind, it's pretty amazing that he managed to take care of the ball this way. There were a lot of really great performances we'll get into, but the collective resolve of this team, despite these circumstances, this is really a win they should be proud of because they damn well earned it, man. They worked so hard to earn this win.
They came out and, I think it's very possible Sacramento thought maybe they were going to get an easier run. The Kings are a weird team, to say the least. I would not want to be doing Locked On Kings all season.
What up, Matt George?
That just doesn't.
Matt George is both too good of a person and too good at his job to deserve this fate.
It's just not. God, they were so good a couple years ago. So much fun. They're not anymore. So, I don't know. I don't want
to return that beam. Maybe
that does not get a lot of work. It's like the Lakers used to drop the streamers and stuff like that, and they reached after everywhere. I think they still do it, but they drop the streamers down and all that stuff. Like they reached a stretch where like the streamers had like dust skeletons, like they just weren't used very often. I feel like that's going to happen to the beam. But you look at what the Lakers did, and they came out and they sort of surprised, I think, Sacramento a little bit with the energy and the effort. And you're like, okay, this is what it requires to win without your two best players. But eventually, effort can be matched. Sacramento hit some threes. Like every time the Kings made a push, the Lakers had an answer. The Kings went ahead a couple times, and it looked like it's gonna be a shame. The Lakers always had an answer now, and that was driven by AR. There is no question. But it was collective, like you say. They got the performance that they needed from Reaves, who has tended to play well in games where he is the featured player, whether that's without LeBron and AD in the lineup or without LeBron and Luka in the lineup. This is not a new thing for Reaves to go off in these games. And he was definitely the impetus for it. But it was a really good collective victory. But again, I mean, it starts with what Austin Reaves did. It was really a flawless game.
It was actually pretty hilarious. And obviously Luka has scored 50 points before. He has scored 60 points before. I believe his career high is 73. But in the win over Minnesota, Luka had the opportunity, was in the game to try to hit 50, and he missed free throws. And eventually JJ said, well, I gave you your shot. I need to take you out of this game because I can't have you getting hurt. And as it turned out, he actually, we all thought he was playing with that finger. I don't think anybody, including JJ, was even aware of the leg thing, because I think
he was contused.
Yeah, well, JJ said that he wasn't quite sure when this happened, but my point is the feeling that if JJ had been aware of it, he wouldn't have allowed Luka to stay in just to get 50. He would have pulled him out and said, I'm pretty confident it'll happen at some point again. But Austin ended up hitting free throws to put him over the top from 50 into 51, which is kind of funny and ironic considering, Austin's a good player, but Luka's Luka.
Yeah.
And the Lakers, by the way, 3 for 3 with players putting up 40 plus.
I actually tweeted during the game. I was like, there's got to be somebody secretly on the bench who's like hoping AR misses a game or two coming up, because somebody gets to score 40 plus a game. That's just the rule. Like, Laravia's down there going, it's going to be my turn eventually, baby. Let's do this. But I just, we'll get to DeAndre Ayton for sure over the course of this game.
Terrific.
He was fantastic. And it's Smart had, a bunch of country, but I really like too the way the Lakers approached this game. They hit some threes late that brought their percentages way up, like, compared to what they were. It still wasn't great. I think they finished 32%. Yeah, 8 of 25. But for a while, they were in the teens. But I think at halftime, it was 2 for 11. So, like, the numerator sucks. Like, 2, not good. But you're controlling the denominator. They kept that game close because they attacked relentlessly a team with bad rim protection and bad defenders. And they got themselves to the line. And I'm sure Kings fans are like, the free throw discrepancy here was absurd. 46 for the Lakers, 18 for Sacramento. But like, I'm watching that game going, the Lakers earned